Oh, right, well, welcome back to the Frugal Gardener. The weather has been really cold, but just going to go through some of the things that's happening. I've replaced some of the bedding, spring bedding, and put some new primulas in because the some of the old stuff has died off. I did tell you before about scented plants near your front door. We've got sarcococca here, which is lovely, gives off such a beautiful scent when you come home, and of course this Eleagnus is just about to come into full flower and the scent of that is heavenly. So that's a really good one, grown that from a small plant that I bought at the garden centre, which is really good. Now the thing to do at this time of the year is the herbaceous, and it's best to cut it back now as the herbaceous is starting to sprout up and we get the new shoots. If you don't cut back the old shoots now, you'll find it a lot more difficult to do later in the year because you'll be snapping off the new growth trying to get down and cut the old foliage right down. So I've already started on this bed here, as you'll see, and I've cut back most of the dead herbaceous and picked up a lot of the dead. There's still quite a bit of weeding to do. A lot of dandelions coming up from last year, but that's a job that I want to try and get done as soon as possible. But the new growth will be starting on all the herbaceous. I've cut back the perennial penstemons because that was literally right out here and smothering the camellia. So things like that can be cut down and cut back. Most of this can be cut back. I've cut back the dead dahlias that were in here, and this was a salvia which I've cut back that the frost has finally got. Trim back a lot of these plants. So this bed is now ready just for a turnover, edge the lawns, cut the lawns, get it all ready for the spring, which is only round the corner. The temperature is going to go up to 16 degrees in the next week or so. So things will be starting to move. So now's the time to get on it, if you can get on it. My garden, as you know, is solid clay and really wet. We'll go in the back and I want to show you a few things in the back garden. We'll start here for a start. This skimia I bought at the end of last autumn, Skimia Japonica Veitchii, this one, it was about £18, but this has had berries on it like this now for almost 4 months, and it looks as though it's going to go on for at least another month, if not 2. So great value for the price. They are expensive, the berrying varieties, but it's better to try and get one. As you can see, there's probably new flowers coming for berries next year, and the rest will sprout later in the spring. I mentioned to you about the geraniums that I brought indoors, and you'll probably see they're all along the sill at the bottom of the patio windows. They're getting quite tall now. I've put them on long trays because it's easier. Obviously, if you're going to put something next to a window, all the foliage will grow towards the light and the window. If you have them on a tray like this, you can just pick the tray up once a week and just swish it round, and then they'll start growing backwards again, so that you keep them all even. Otherwise you're going to have plants all growing in one direction. So it's really good if you can afford it to get them on trays and then just move the whole lot in one go. Saves you a lot of time and effort. These are going to get quite tall by the middle of May, but hopefully I'll be able to take cuttings off them before then, which will help them to thicken up. They won't be too leggy, and it'll give me some new stock plants. Now over here, I just want to show you the importance of having these under a cover. The temperature the other day got to -7, and just with a bit of plastic on a lean-to to put them underneath has protected quite a few of them. I have lost some of the plants. Well, I say lost them, the frost has got them and they've died back. These daisies are really suffering. They didn't like -7 at all, but they will recover a bit. But at the moment, this was as solid as a rock yesterday, but with this milder weather now, it's come out. Whether or not they'll survive, I'm not sure, but we'll see. The the grevillea that I've got here had tons of flowers on it, ready for a really nice show next year, but with the cold weather, they're all starting to die back. All the flowers are dying off, so we're not going to get much in the way of flower on that this year, but hopefully next year it'll be good. But it's quite nice architecturally. I've cut back the Alstroemeria. The frost got them at last. They've survived up until this past couple of days. Most of the Coprosmias, the coloured leaved ones at the back, the evergreens, the frost has kept off them. They don't like going much below -5, but they've done quite well just under this cover. And I did put a slight bit of fleece on them, so they've done really well. Now I wanted to show you the crocus and the lawns. I cut the lawns last year right up until January and kept them on the low side in order that you can see the crocus coming up first thing in the spring. The grass is so wet at the moment. I did have 6 clumps in the garden, 2 at the top, 2 in the middle, 2 at the bottom. I planted them about 8 years ago or 10 years ago. The ones at the bottom, the lawn is too wet and they died off completely. The ones that are doing the best are the ones at the top of the lawn, which gets more drainage than the bottom of the lawn, so it just shows you. But they will grow. The birds have flattened most of these crocus over here, but the beds are just starting to drain. All the snowdrops are coming out now, but the garden's looking reasonably nice. I've been here cutting back some of the herbaceous that I left. Normally we'll cut them right back to the bottom of the ground, so these I will take down a bit more yet, and I'll take all the tops off these chrysanthemums, these spray chrysanthemums. I'll take all these tops off now, ready for the spring. You can see the water and the problem I have with drainage. If you suffer from moss, now is a brilliant time, especially if you're on clay. It'll pick off as easy as can be. It's not rooted, it's just on the top surface, and you can just pull off the worst of the moss. It comes out really nice, whereas in the summer that'll be difficult to do. So you can get rid of most of that just by picking it off. The garden's been so wet that the moss really does well, but go round, you can do most of these jobs. Now's the time to start lifting any of the herbaceous, divide it up, replant it, and you've got new stock to either give away to your friends or plant somewhere else if you've got spots in your garden that you need to do that. I've cut back the Montbretia, and I've also taken some out which I've potted up, which I want to give to our local church that we go to. So things like that, as I say, the herbaceous you can do. Some of the plants have come out of the ground. This Senecchio, which is angel wings, that was totally out of the ground, the roots, everything. I don't know if the birds have pulled it or the foxes, but it's important to go around and check all your plants, see what's happening, keep an eye on the different things. All the bulbs are starting to come up. The hyacinths are starting to come through, and you'll probably see a lot of the herbaceous is coming through as well. Things like peonies, here the buds are already here, just showing through, ready for the spring. Beautiful plump buds. That's why I say if you cut back now before they get too big and it causes a problem, you might catch the new buds if you leave it too late. Let's show you some of the plants that have, the Melianthus in the corner here. Eventually, this was lovely last week, but the -7 has really knocked it for 6, and I shall leave that now for another month or so, and then hopefully it'll start sprouting at near the base. It should do, and I'll cut it right hard back so that we get some new growth on it. But we'll leave it to see how it fares for the moment. But you can see that it has done damage there. And again, it's time now to get up the dead stuff and take off the worst of the leaves and debris, cut back anything. Within the next 2 or 3 weeks we'll start cutting back the roses, ready for the spring. The buds are starting to come, as you can see. If you cut them too early, they'll sprout, and then you'll get a frost and it'll kill off the new buds. So within the next 3 or 4 weeks we'll start cutting the roses. Beginning of March is perfect. Again, cut back most of the dead herbaceous. Now we'll just have a quick look in the greenhouse, and then that'll be it for today. I would like to top the lawn, but it's way too wet, so we'll have to see what we can do. We do have quite a few foxes coming to the garden, so that can cause damage. This golden conifer did survive that -7, so I'm really pleased about that. And as I say, I'm going to start cutting it round into balls to create a cloud effect. So I'm really pleased about that. I have thinned out, I've taken out at least 50% of the shoots on there to open it up, ready for the next phase of that project that I was doing. The greenhouse I've been quite busy in. I've brought in some of the tender plants just to stop them. I've taken, all these are cuttings that I've taken, the Caprosma. This is lemon and lime. I've taken some cuttings and they're all doing really well, potted them up. Taken cuttings of the Senecchio angel wings. These are quite good as well. Basically because they don't really withstand the -6, -7 degrees. They are slight semi-tender. The geranium cuttings that I put indoors, but I was running out of space, so I brought them back out to the greenhouse, potted all the cuttings up. I've still got quite a few indoors upstairs in the office. So all of these are all cuttings that I've taken. This is a white one, a new variety that I've taken from the stock plant. Can't wait to see what that looks like this year when it comes out in flower. Again, propagating. I've started now, as you'll see, potted up quite a few of the Brugmansias. I've kept cuttings from last year, and these in the propagator will keep them warm enough to survive. I've also put the dahlia tubers in a tray, which is here, and those I'm hoping will start sprouting and I can take cuttings off or divide them up. I've also started off the begonias in pots. You can see all the shoots starting to come on that. You can, if you wanted, cut them in half or even quarters to get 4 plants out of those tubers, but that one I want to fill a basket on its own, so I'm not doing that. That one's sprouting, this one isn't yet, but I'm hoping that the frost didn't get it. It feels fairly solid, so I'm hoping that that's going to be all right. I've also put some seeds in and some cuttings of salvias, which I'm hoping are going to have rooted by now, and then I can pot them up as soon as they finish rooting. So there's lots of jobs to do at the moment. A lot of the canna lilies that I've got on the floor, I've potted up, kept them dry over winter. I've just now started to give them a little bit of water so that they don't dry out completely, and in the next week or 2 they're going to start sprouting, so that come May time they should be about 1 or 2 foot high. I'll be cutting off the dead leaves off this particular one, which is one of the variegated lovely varieties. So most of those will be starting off, but there's lots of work to start now. You can also start sowing seeds if you've got a heating propagator. and you can start taking cuttings as well off some of the stock plants that you've got. But at the moment everything's keeping well. The banana plant's doing well. The frost hasn't got it, which I'm really pleased about. So I'm hoping that that's going to be about 4 or 5 foot this year, because I've been able to save it over the winter. So that'll be really good. I'm not going to uncover it, but that's doing really well. And that's about it for the moment. Now's the time to go to the garden centres and see if they've got any seedlings, pots of seedlings of geraniums, summer bedding, petunias, things like that. It's the cheapest way to buy them. They're usually between £2 and £4 a pot with about 20 or 30 seedlings in, and you can prick them out, but you'd need a warm greenhouse for that, unless you're going to do them indoors on windowsills. But now's the time to look in the garden centres and see if they've got things like that. A bit later on they'll be doing the little plugs, which again are going to be somewhere around about 80p to £1.30, 40 each. But if you buy them at this stage and pot them on, they're going to be much cheaper than buying them in the summer when they'll be £2 or £3 each. So that's something to look out for if you go into the garden centres. I do realise it's locked down, but it is permissible to go to the garden centres and do these things. Especially in the next few weeks, I think that the lockdown will be eased slightly, so it'll be more easier to go out and get these sort of things safely. And that's it for now, and I'll do the next one in a few weeks' time. Okay, take care. Bye.